All right, we've got a 2013 Hyundai Tucson doing the front pads and rotors. We just finished the back. That's a separate video. Flushing this one first. We're doing a flush all the way around as well. So while the flush is going, I thought I'd start telling you what to do here. Sometimes while I'm flushing it, or usually while I'm flushing it, I'll get a pry bar in here and if I can grab something. And I can't grab it on this one. I'll have to. We got a 14mm bolt down. Zip that out, and then I can lift that. Now I'll be able to pry back on it. See that? Hold that hose on there, and I'll pry while I'm bleeding it, flushing it, and push that piston in while I've got the fluid coming in. Makes it easier to push the piston in, and it helps you get all that nasty old fluid out of that caliper. Make sure it all comes out. So I'm going to finish flushing that. We've got a 14 here. We will then lift this caliper and just slide the other pin out. You can take that other bolt out, but you don't have to. We've got 2 set screws here that I will use my impact hammer on. My impact hammer. Fluid's probably good now. You can see how clear that fluid is coming out of there. All right, so with these screws, if you ever get one that's really tight and even the impact screwdriver is having a hard time, because you can break these tips off in there if you hit them too hard, in which case you got to try to get the tip out and then drill the screw out, which these screws are really easy to drill. But if the tip of your bit gets in there, that's a headache if you can't get that broken piece out, because that's hardened steel. It is not fun to try to drill through. That takes a while. So anyways, you can take a large socket of some sort. I like to use just something like that, and you can sit that on there and just tap it with a hammer several times. And then you could also get a big socket to go around it and hit the rotor. Between the two of those things, that'll help loosen it up, and then you should be able to get it out. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this bleeding process. I'm going to take this caliper off, and I'll get those screws out, and I'll be right back. Okay, we got those screws out. They weren't that bad. Got the caliper. I did have to take the top screw out too, because the hose wasn't long enough to stretch to be able to just tip it up. So got both those bolts out. Got the caliper just resting over here out of the way. Get the old pads out of there. Let's see, these are falling apart. Pop that out, and then I'm gonna pop this hardware off of there. Get that off of there, and then we've got 2 17mm here and here. We're gonna get those out. Once you get those out, you can use a long ratchet, or you can put a 17mm wrench on there like that. Hold it with one hand, put a couple fingers to keep it from popping off, and then just hit the bottom side of that with a hammer, and you can crack those loose, and then they'll be easy to take out. Get those out. That takes the bracket off. Then we can take a hammer and hit this rotor from the back side, knock it off. You can hit it right around here. Don't hit the studs to help loosen it if you need to. Knock it off from the back side. Then we'll clean everything up with a wire brush, clean up in here where the new hardware is going to go, clean up around the mating surface back here, and then we'll start putting everything back together. So reverse, putting it back together, just the reverse. Clean everything up, put the new rotor on, put those 2 17mm bolts back in, tighten them up real good, pop your new hardware on there. I usually pop the hardware on there while this bracket's off, a little easier to do. Get the bracket on there, tighten those bolts, then you can pop those pads in there. That's self-explanatory. I mean, they only fit in one way. Make sure the pad surface is facing the rotor and the metal plate is on the back side. If you've got pads with just a plain metal surface on the back, well, the shim actually fell off, but plain metal shim, you'll put a little lubricant on the back side of these shims when you put the new pads on. These gold pads that I use from Advanced Auto, they have a nice soft shim on the back, so you don't have to grease those. So really the only things I grease are these slide pins. So you're going to want to pull both these slide pins out and grease those. Grease those, get your pads in there, Put that caliper back on and tighten back those 14mm bolts. That is it as far as replacing them parts. Then you will want to check your fluid beforehand, just in case it's too full, because when you push the piston in on this caliper, I did it, you saw me do it while I was bleeding the brakes. If you aren't bleeding the brakes and you take that off, you just got to push that piston in with a C-clamp or one of these tools like I've got that actually is designed for pushing those pistons in. Push that in, but before you do, make sure the fluid is not over full, because as you push that piston in, the fluid will go back up and it can overflow. Check fluid, and then when you're all done, everything's back together, pump your brake pedal to seat the pads before you drive the car. Then double check the fluid level, make sure it's where it's supposed to be. Put your cap back on and go test drive it, and you are good to go. All right, that is it for the 2013 Hyundai Tucson. Thanks for watching.